Welcome to Separation Season Athletics Masterclass. Today we'll be talking about understanding shoulder pain, why it happens, and how to correct it. So, who's this for? Athletes, desk workers, and really anybody dealing with shoulder pain. Who am I? I'm a health and performance coach, and I help clients reduce pain, rebuild strength, and keep them moving without fear of injury. Now let's go over the 3 reasons why shoulder pain happens. Number 1, no pressing angle variation, especially in the gym. You're going to see a lot of people just bench pressing, but that can cause overcompensation patterns and create overuse injuries over time. One of the biggest things is going to be changing the angle of variation. So not just doing flat bench press, but you're also going to want to do incline press, decline press, dips, but then also not just with the bar as well. You want to use more range of motion with dumbbells too and have a bigger variation pool because the shoulder is very susceptible to overuse injuries. That's why variation is going to be a big key. But usually a lot of people just do bench press all the time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday bench or whatever. And that's when overuse injuries start occurring. Next, weak stabilizers. The 2 that are weak are going to be the upper back and then the rotator cuff. Let's go about the upper back. The upper back, mainly for this topic, is going to be talked about the traps and also the rhomboids, okay? The traps, when you think of trap muscles, it's usually, just the top part of the trap, but that is actually the first part. There's actually 2 other parts, the middle trap and the lower trap. And all 3 of these working in unison and that are strong together actually help stabilize the shoulder. So it's really important not to have weak traps. Another thing is going to be the muscles called the rhomboids, which are in between the shoulder blades. You want those strong as well because those actively help stabilize the shoulder. Next, one of the biggest ones is going to be the rotator cuff, which is right behind the shoulder and actively helps stabilize it, especially in pressing movements. So if you're having pain when doing pressing, specifically bench pressing, let's say, we want to actually step away from bench pressing. Bench pressing, dips, things like that, any kind of barbell pressing we want to step away from because less is going to be more. Once we can take out what is basically causing us pain, then we can start to add in things that will help us recover and then get back to doing what we want to do, which is bench pressing or whatnot. Let's take those stuff out and then let's replace it with something like an overhead press with a dumbbell. This is going to help, 1, work on the full range of motion with the dumbbell, going all the way up and all the way down in a neutral grip, while also going one arm to the other arm is going to help balance those out. Sometimes on the bench press, your right arm might be stronger than your left arm. So then you're going to be creating an imbalance just due to doing the barbell bench press because, it's on the same plane. It's on the same load. So by working one arm independently compared to the other is going to help even that out. But also what's going to be very important is just like how we were talking about pressing angle variation. Many people are strong in the bench press, but they are weak in the overhead press. Therefore, it's creating a bigger imbalance over time. And actually, if you really wanted to increase your bench press, one of the quicker and more efficient ways is to work on your weakness, which is more than likely going to be the overhead press. And so by strengthening the overhead press and making it stronger in comparison to your bench press is going to go up, and also your pain level is going to go down in your shoulder because the overhead press is also working not just the shoulders and the triceps, but also the stabilizers in the upper back. Next, we're going to want to take a break from doing chin-ups and focusing on rows. Just like how we talked about above, one of the biggest things is having a weak upper back and specifically rhomboids and posterior delts. And so what's going to help with that is going to be the dumbbell row. When doing a chin-up, it's going to be a little bit more stress on the shoulder because you're going through a full range of motion at the bottom and at the top, which can aggravate the shoulder. So that's why we're going to want to step away from those and do dumbbell rows to help strengthen that up while still working on the same muscle groups, the lats and the upper back. Next, we want to strengthen the external rotators. So at the gym, I see this all the time. people are doing external rotation exercises using a dumbbell, but they're standing. When you're using a dumbbell, but you're standing up, if you can see how the fibers are on the rotator cuff, they go in a diagonal, right? They're not up and down. Let's say the bicep. The bicep is up and down, more vertical compared to the rotator cuff, right? So when you're doing this exercise, the load of gravity on the dumbbell is going down, right? So where is that? If gravity is pulling you down, the dumbbell, where is that load coming from in order to make sure the dumbbell stays up? It's coming from the bicep. It's not coming from the rotator cuff. Just because you're doing an external rotation doesn't mean you're training and actually recruiting the external rotation muscle fibers. You're actually just recruiting the stabilizers in the bicep, because that's where the load is going. That's where the muscle fibers are going. So a better way to do this is here. As you can see, instead of doing it with the dumbbell where the load is going down to the ground, we use a cable. Therefore, the load is going horizontally and in line more so with the rotator cuff fibers. Therefore, we're training the rotator cuff and not even training the bicep compared to the one above. So this is standing mid-pulley rotator cuff exercise. It's going to be really important, is keeping the arm 90 degrees. If you, at the top of the movement, start extending your arm and straightening it, then you're training the tricep. We want to train, each exercise is supposed to have a specific goal. This goal is to train the rotator cuff. So making sure form is crucial to maintain, because we want to train the rotator cuff, not the tricep. So that's why we keep a 90-degree angle at the top and at the bottom. Next, another exercise that if you don't want to use, or if you don't have access to a cable, is going to be the dumbbell rotator cuff exercise, but it's going to be seated on the bench, your elbows on your knee. Unlike this one with the dumbbell load is still going down to the ground, but because we're changing our torso and our arm angle, it actually falls in line with the fibers of the rotator cuff. So if you're doing external rotation movements and you've been doing them this, please stop and start doing them either mid-pulley, which has the load going horizontally, or you can still use the dumbbell, but then just adjust where your body is, so then we're still hitting the muscle fibers for the rotator cuff. Next, let's talk about upper back. Upper back is going to be very important to help stabilize the scapula, which is the shoulder blade. And by stabilizing that, it'll help stabilize the shoulder. So this is a trap 3 raise. Just like how we talked about above, there are going to be 3 different layers of traps going from the top, middle, and bottom. So what this exercise does is basically work more so the middle and the bottom trap. So it's going to be very important is the most important thing is going to be pinching your shoulder blade before you come up in the movement. This is going to help activate and use more of the lower trap, because if you don't, then you're going to use the higher traps more than likely. Another thing is going to be making sure your forehead is on your forearm the entire time, because if you start swaying or leaning off of it, then you're using momentum. We want to be very strict and just using the trap 3 muscles and just having the arm come up and down. Next is going to be the Powell raise. This is the 30-degree Powell raise. You're going to have the dumbbell come across your chest at the bottom and then come all the way up at the top. Make sure it's in line with the head at all times to make sure you're hitting the upper back muscles, specifically the rhomboids, which are those muscles in between the shoulder blades. And also these 2 exercises are just going to help with overall posture as well, which is going to help over time create less strain on the shoulder. So here are some key takeaways for shoulder health. First, train the rotator cuff and scapular stabilizers consistently, just like the trap 3 raise and also the Powell raise. Next, use a neutral grip on a unilateral pressing like the overhead press and also the row to protect the joint and also get more range of motion. One of the biggest things when doing any of these exercises is because they're always single arm, you're going to want to start with the weaker or injured side first and always match that to the stronger side. This is going to help build both of them up at the same time instead of having the stronger side always stronger, the weaker side always weaker, and having that imbalance just keep on going, which is going to not fix the pain. We want to balance them out and then bring them up together. Next, one of the biggest things is going to be controlling the tempo on any of these movements. We want to slowly lower on the way down so we get the most range of motion while also getting the most tension on the muscle. Because when we're getting the most tension on the muscle, then it can grow and be stronger and get bigger. And then the last thing, we just want to train pain-free. Training through pain is going to more so break down what we're trying to build up, and we're trying to build it up to make it feel better. So training pain-free is going to be super important to help overall not get injured and also get out of injury quicker, because we're telling the body what we want. We want to be pain-free, okay? And let's train that way and make sure we're not pushing loads or weight or range of motion before our pain tolerance can get there. So this has been Separation Season Athletics training with masterclass on shoulder health. If you're interested in personal coaching to help rehab your injury or prevent one from occurring, fill out the link below. Thank you for watching.